Hey, what's up? What's up? It's Devin Coates. Today I'm gonna do a book review. It's on Flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyyi. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Not entirely sure because it's got all type of fucking consonants in it and letters and vowels. But yeah, let's just get into it. So the book is called Flow: The Psychology of the Optimal Experience. And this book is just about how to, in your everyday life, get the most flow, the highest experience out of everything. And what he talks about as being flow is like, if you've ever, it could also be called like the zone. It's just when you're doing something and it's at such a level that your mind is working at its peak performance, and generally in those feelings you kind of lose a lot of stress and anxiety, and things just seem to work best in that way. And I'll just kind of go through the basic ideas, and you can achieve flow in a multitude of different areas. And he kind of talks about first like the conditions of flow, and first is that you have to, it has to be, whatever it is that you're doing has to be challenging to the point where it's just past your skill level at the present moment, so that you are reaching and feeling you're achieving something. Because if it's at your skill level or below, you'll get bored. But it's high enough so that you have to try, and it pushes you to do everything that you know and pushes you to your full capacity and beyond, but not so high as to where it doesn't even seem achievable for you to even participate in whatever activity it is. So first, and he talks about this as being like the autotelic kind of personality, or autotelic person is the one who is always in flow. They're able to get their mind to this state, and it has goals and rules, and basically it's almost like a game. You've created a game in your mind of, this is the challenge, this is the goal that I need to achieve, and this is how it's challenging, and these are the rules and parameters I must stay in to accomplish the goal. And then you can get your direct feedback as to how well you're doing. He talks about body and flow, and a lot of these can be thought of as sports. One of his analogies was if you're playing tennis, and maybe if you were just starting to play tennis, playing Serena Williams, you're not going to be in flow because she's just going to demolish you. You're not going to have the adequate skills to even step foot on the court with her. But if you're a novice at tennis and you play another novice, now you're going to be in flow because you're going to be pushed to all your capabilities. They're going to be pushed to all their capabilities, and you're going to be pushing each other in a challenge that's pretty equal. Your skill levels are pretty equal, to the point where to win, you have to be a slightly better novice than the other novice, and then that will create a flow activity. He also talks about it in he uses rock climbing a lot, and how the thrill of especially he was talking about like rock climbing without like the like on real rocks, like in the outside, and how a lot of them will achieve flow because their mind has to be so engaged into what's happening that if they mess up, it can cause serious injury or even possibly death. Because I mean, he was talking about like professionals, so they're climbing pretty tough mountains, and how that would keep their mind in the correct flow, because it'll be a better experience because you can't really think of too many things. You're not distracted by all the crazy things that's going on in life. He also talks about your like thought and flow, how people can ponder, do science or math, writing, poetry, all can push your mind to a level, or painting and things like that, crossword puzzles, and how, or Sudoku. And that's why a lot of people enjoy those type of things and find so much enjoyment out of those problems, as long as it's pushing you, the rules are clear. Like in a puzzle, for example, if you're putting it together, it's very obvious that you need to find the pieces that go together. If you've never put a puzzle together, doing a 5,000 piece puzzle would probably be too much and too challenging. But if you did a started out with maybe a 100-piece puzzle. You completed that, went to 300, and just slowly moved up. It keeps your mind engaged. It keeps you moving. You're playing a board game, maybe Monopoly, if you like to make deals and stuff. And as long as you're playing against people that are around your skill level, maybe slightly better, or at least there are people that are slightly better, that it will push your skills. The rules are clear, the parameters. You can stay in flow and optimal experience. You talked about work as flow. That was probably to me, probably the most important, because you see a lot of people nowadays, they're all working for retirement. A lot of people they really don't want to fucking like work at all, or that's what people have been sold. And he kind of shows this crazy kind of dichotomy, because it's like you work for free time or retirement, or your 2 days off, or the TGIF, thank God it's Friday, kind of mentality. And it's funny because he would say that in a lot of studies where they tried to conduct when people are in optimal experience or flow, most often, they often found that they were far more likely to be in flow during work hours than during their free time. People often waste their free time. They don't spend their free time into things that are challenging. They watch a lot of TV, they get drunk, they do a lot of things that don't really require your mind to be fully engaged. And that's his biggest thing, is that you need to always be challenging your mind and moving your mind, because that's when your mind works best. Your mind needs to be stimulated and engaged in something that it's trying to like figure out. And when you're not in that sort of mind state, that is when you're going to be the most unhappy. And he talks about how work, generally, that's where people find the most flow, because it's you know what you have to do. You have your job description, you work, and there's constant problems, especially if you work with a type of sales or customer service where there's a lot of human interaction. It's like there's so many things coming up. You're always trying to solve problems. And I know I work at a bar and restaurant, and when it's busy, you almost forget about everything else. It makes time pass so fast, because it's like your mind's just going on this crazy race, trying to figure out all these different problems and make sure everything's finished in a timely manner. And then when you stop, you kind of like, you'll be like, oh shit, like fucking 2 hours just passed, 3 hours just passed, oh shit, I'm done. And he kind of talks about that as being flow. Like when you're pushed to your capabilities and your potential, that is the best, that's where you reach optimal experience. And oftentimes at work is where most people, most like Americans, will find their flow. Because I mean honestly, a lot of Americans, they're not in their off time, they're not doing body as flow, and they're not doing thought as flow in terms of doing puzzles or doing workouts. He also talked about solitude in other people, and how generally to reach the skill levels to always be increasing your flow, you have to be able to be by yourself. Made a video before, like last week or whatever, about the benefits of being solo, and that kind of goes along with this. And it's just that to ever accomplish anything worthwhile, or accomplish anything that really does push you, you're gonna have to be able to spend significant periods of time alone to hone your skills and not be distracted by the things outside of you. But then he also explains how we're social creatures, and we need to be able to also work in harmony with other people. But you can take the same autotelic personality and flow dimensions into the social realm, as well as like getting better at meeting people, or he talked about a kid who in middle school, and I mean I even find this for me in my development as a man, or just a human being in general. Like, you start out probably not as popular as you want to be, not as socially savvy as you want to be, but you can also create that as a game, as what kind of person do you want to become, studying the different peoples that maybe look like a resemblance of what you want to become, or have certain qualities that you would like to emulate, and adding that all together and creating yourself and making that a game in itself, at being a better friend, or just person in relationships, maybe a better person to meet, just people cold approach in terms of like not knowing them and just going up to strangers. And then he kind of finishes it with chaos and meaning. And he basically talks a lot about how in life, the person who's the best at flow and the happiest can take chaos and still create a flow mentality to move from it. So say you got fired from your job, there's some people that would do what he calls like it's a negative or immature response, and they'll just maybe drink and just fuck it, and I don't have to think about it, and I'm not going to worry about the problem that's obvious, like right in front of my face. Or you could do the positive autotelic type of response, which is created as a flow moment where you're going to start challenging yourself. You might have to start learning new skills. You might have to learn how to put yourself out there again to apply for jobs. And maybe you even, I know Glendon Cameron, a person I like on YouTube, he talked about how he's laid off for like the third time in like a year or 3 years or whatever. And how he just was like, all right, I'm just going to figure it out. And he kind of just became this entrepreneur, started doing the storage auction, and that was kind of his journey and how he kept his flow. And it keeps you in the optimal experience to keep achieving. And he also talks about like you can be in flow, but if everything's always separated, like you work out and you get the body flow and you do the puzzles, or you have your own hobby, you make music, rap, whatever. I like to rap. And you might find flow there, and you might find flow at work, but if you might find flow sometimes when you're by yourself and with other people, but if you can't really combine that all into like a meaningful existence, that you're going to always have like a minor void in your life, and you're not going to reach the peak of that optimal experience. And he kind of talks about your life and your meaning of life being a flow experiment, and how you got to create that as flow. And you need to, and he talks a lot about reading past books and past discoveries of how in a lot of these religions and different things. And I'm just going to try to shorten it because we're hitting 12 minutes. But I remember Descartes, when I was taking a intro to philosophy class at Rutgers, we were talking about, he mentions how like you're given all this knowledge, and then eventually it's like you don't know where that's coming from. You don't know if it's the actual truth, and how in your life you need to be looking for the truth as a flow experiment and a flow, I keep saying experiment, but flow activity. And Descartes talks about how like you just slowly are cutting away at all the lies that you've been told and all the things you've just been taught to believe that you want and to want to do, and he talks about how like this can create flow when you're creating the meaning in your life and always being curious, trying to build a better consciousness, and regardless of what you're doing, and having all that come together to really create your life as an optimal experience of flow. You're always happy because there's a deeper meaning that you don't understand that's going to always be challenging you. It's like you don't need these external things to be in place that you have to do to be in flow. Like you're always trying to figure out, or whatever your calling may be, what the meaning of everything is. What's the purpose of what you're doing? And really that's it. I really recommend the book. I liked it a lot. I mean, I hope my brief review and summary suffices. But it was very, very enlightening, and it kind of just shows that, you know, as much as people look for downtime and they want to kind of chill, it's like really your mind doesn't work like that. Your mind wants to be engaged. Your mind wants to have something to analyze and do and move. And just really getting into that and figuring that out and having the discipline to actually engage in those activities more. As much as, I mean, I slack off like the next person, but it's like really just practicing every day, getting your mind more engaged, because that is how you're going to really experience life. And just as Seneca says, I mean, I'm going to be paraphrasing, but it's like, it's not that our lives are too short, it's that we don't, with the long life that we're given, we don't actually live. And I think that's really what flow is. Flow is actually living, and when you're not in flow, you're not living. So stay in the flow. Once again, it's Devin Coates. If you like the content, please leave some comments. Please click the subscribe button, hit the like button. I appreciate everything. And until next time, peace.